Hi everyone! On today's tutorial we will transform bikini pattern top Rudi into this beautiful bra. So let's go! We now have here the Rudi top, the front. It's only one cup with a dart below the bust. We have the bridge part over here and we have the back. So this is a very simple pattern. Something I already did for this one is I removed 4 centimeters that I had here. It was too long for my band under the bust, so I cut 4 centimeters here. I didn't have to change the height of this edge here because this is actually good to fit with my hook and eye. So you just need to get your hook and eye and check if once the seam allowances are removed, you have the height of your hook and eye between these two lines. And since I do have that measurement here, I didn't need to do any additional change to use this hook and eye. Regarding the front, I did some changes and I'm talking about this here, but today I'm going to be using different fabric, different elastics, so I'm going to show you how to adjust the pattern so that you can use your own supplies that you have at home. So the first thing I did when I did my bra was, since I wanted to use the scallops on this edge here, I straightened this line. But not only that, I also changed this part here because this was made for the bikini, for the reversible bikini, and now we don't have that, so we don't need the same measurements here. So how do we calculate this? I'm gonna show you. Grab a piece of paper and place your pattern on your paper, and I'm gonna trace the pattern all around, and then I'm gonna do the changes. So the first update that I need to do on my pattern is having the elastic that you are going to use on this area here. So the elastic you're going to be using here, right, on your cup, under the arm. You check the width of the elastic and you see if it is the same that we have on the pattern, and it's not. My elastic is wider than the seam allowance that I have here. So what I'm going to do to start with is measuring this. I'm going to leave a little bit of the picot there, here, and I'm going to trace. Okay, so now I know that my new seam allowance needs to be a little bit bigger according to my elastic. You can also measure your elastic. Mine is 0.8, so I can do this just a little bit wider here to fit my new seam allowance. And now I know that my elastic is going to fit, so it's okay. I'm gonna keep this line here and I'm gonna make the new line where I know that my elastic is going to fit. Then I'm gonna check what is the size of my strap, and this one is 1 centimeter. So I'm actually going to just write here 1 centimeter, and I'm going to trace the line here. And once I have that line, I'm now ready on the seam allowance line here. I'm now ready to trace from here to the very edge on a straight line because of the scallops. And this is my new line, okay? But now here, oh, I'm sorry, it was not from here, it was from here to the top there, like so. Okay, so we now have a new line here, not this one, sorry. We now have a new line there. We have the correct seam allowance for our elastic under the bust. And here we need to have 1 centimeter so that we can fit our channeling. But we have already had seam allowance for that on the Rudi top, so I'm not going to change it. I'm going to leave it as it is. This one, when I did this, my elastic under the arm here was a little bit smaller than this one, So I'm sure that this will be a little bit smaller also here. It's only by 2 millimeters, so you almost can't see, but it is a little bit smaller. And then I also did another change. Regarding the dart in the lower part here, I want to make it a little bit smaller. And this is just because I feel that the bust point on the dart here is sticking out a little bit. So instead of using the original curve, I'm just going to move it a little bit lower here. And to do so, I'm going to use my ruler, aligning this line with my grain line, and I'm going to mark a new dot, more or less 0.5 centimeter from the original seam allowance that I had. So it's not a lot, it's here. And now I'm going to retrace the curve. But I'm not going to care a lot with this curve that I have just retraced, because I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to make sure that these two sides are exactly the same. So for now, you can cut all around, but leave this part here to cut in the end, as I'm going to show you. Now, using the grain line that we have here, this one, if you fold this on the grain line, and you now cut your dart, it's done. We now have the new pattern. This is okay to be sewn here, and we have the bridge, and we now have the pattern ready to cut the fabrics. So let me show you the fabrics that we will be using on this tutorial. So let's talk about the supplies we are going to be using today. First of all, I'm going to be using a push-up wire bra size 40. I'm going to sew a 34C. And once I finished this one yesterday, I was able to make sure that this was the wire perfect for my bra. So this is the wire I'm going to be using today. Then I'm going to be using these rose gold strap adjusters with the rings. And what you need to be sure here is that this is going to be my strap, and you need to be sure that the width of the strap adjuster is according to your strap size. If this is too big, it will be very bad. So make sure that the rings and sliders match your strap. So this will be the fabric for my strap. It's fluffy on one side and textured on the other, and it's elastic, and I really love this one. So this is the one I'm going to be using as a strap today. Then for the main fabric, I will be using this one, which I really love. It has some embroidery here, and it's like blue. It has stretch on the horizontal and a little bit also on the vertical. And since we are going to use this scallop edge here for the edge of the bra, I decided today that I'm going to stabilize this underneath with this beautiful tulle. So this is almost a nude tone. You will never see it underneath. You will not notice that it is underneath. And since my tulle has no elasticity on the horizontal here, and it has elasticity on this direction, I'm going to be sure that when I cut, I want my bra not to have any elasticity, my bra cups not to have elasticity horizontally. So I'm going to make sure that to cut this one correctly, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Then the only thing that I'm missing is the bra channeling, which in this case I'm going to do this color matching the lace, because it's going to be visible, as you can see here. It's going to be visible here because I placed it on the outside of the bra instead of inside. And the elastic, which I have already shown you, it's going to be under the arm, and so that's why I adjusted the pattern there. But I actually forgot to tell you that we also need to adjust the back for the elastic. So of course, if we have 1 centimeter there for the elastic, we need to have 1 centimeter here. And this is obviously very small, and the same here. So this means that I'm gonna change the back, the width of the seam allowance here and also here to fit the elastic that I have today. And finally, and this I think I already told you, you just need to make sure that the height here is the same between these two lines. So if it's not, you need to adjust the height of your back center piece. And so this is the one I'm gonna be using today, the hook and eye 2x3. And I think that's it. I'm just going to change the seam allowance here, and so remake the back piece, and then we can start cutting our fabrics. And I'm going to show you exactly how to cut this one and how to cut this one. Make sure you always label your new pattern pieces. Fabric, I'm gonna fold the fabric in half so I can cut the 2 cups at the same time. And doing so, I also make sure that the cups are symmetrical, because I overlap the flowers and the scallops, so I make sure that they will be exactly the same. And then you can cut like this, or you can cut like this, it's up to you. The thing is, I'm gonna align it again here, sorry. The thing is that you need to align. I usually don't secure my fabric to my paper pattern piece. So I'm gonna align the edge here with the lower part of the scallops. Here and here. I'm wasting a little bit here and a little bit here, so I don't like it. I'm gonna, oh no, I cannot, because I need the symmetry. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to admit that I'm gonna spend some fabric, extra fabric. So this is in place. Usually I don't pin this in place. I only put a rock or something here, and with my cutter I'm just going to cut all around, and I will have my 2 lace main pieces for my cups. So I was almost forgetting my back piece, and of course for the back piece you need the power mesh. I've used on the Rudi pattern, if you see, I've used a strong power mesh underneath for the cups and the back band, which is this one, which has some elasticity, but this is not the strong one. This is the light, so it has less weight. It's very soft, very comfortable, and it has a lot of elasticity, more than the other one. It's very nice, and it's perfectly enough for me. If you have fuller bust, you should use the strong and not the light one. I'm gonna do 1 layer only with this one for the back bands, just like I did here, which means that I'm not going to be able to hide this seam here, which I really don't mind. But if you watch the tutorial for the Rudi top, you will see that since we used 2 layers, we can of course hide the seam on the inside here. So of course, if you want to use 2 layers, you can do that, and you will hide the seam. Or of course, if you have a tool like this one, the lace, which is stretchable, you could also overlap the power mesh with your blue or whatever fabric you have to match the cup, and you would have the 2 layers that you need with horizontal stretch. But in this case, I only have this small bit of fabric, and I don't want to spend it on the back pieces here, because I will ruin this beautiful area here. And this is just enough for me to do another bra, so I'm not going to ruin it by cutting back pieces on the lower part here. So that's one of the reasons why today I'm just going to be using this as my back piece. So to cut the back pieces, you just align the fabric just like you do on any other fabric, and you see the greater horizontal stretch that you have, which is in this direction, and I'm going to cut 2. Let me see if folding this, because you know that I always like to cut 2 at the same time. So here it is. Oh, it's just enough. Perfect. So I'm going to cut 2 all at once. So this is an interesting part, because on this one I only had the layer of the tulle and I had nothing underneath. So and usually you need to have your cups completely stabilized with no stretch, and this lace hasn't stretch. It doesn't stretch, so it was okay for me to do it with 1 layer only. But this one does stretch, the blue one that I'm using today. So to stabilize it, I'm going to use the tulle. And as I told you, the tulle has elasticity on one direction but not the other. So on my horizontal here, I do not have stretch. And what I want is the horizontal here not to have stretch. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do here a fold, is, let me see, if I fold this like so, I still have 1 layer with no horizontal stretch. So if I fold this like so, and I align this here, my horizontal is here, and here I have no elasticity. Yeah, that's it. So like this, align the curve, the folded area here, and we can cut. So my horizontal stretch would be here. This is completely stabilized horizontally, so in this direction. Sorry, it is folded, so it's vertical now. But when I cut this, I will make sure that one of the layers of the tulle is not stretchable, so it will stabilize my cup. And I use the fold here because underneath you will have the scallop, and I even think I should do this one, and then I'm gonna have to sew small bits of this to the lace, but let's see how that turns, because it's the first time I'm doing it. So for now I'm gonna repeat the process. I'm gonna cut 2, and I will have my fabric for the tulle cups ready. Today I'm going to do something that I think it would be nicer than what I've done here, which will be make the wire line continuous instead of doing a bridge. But if you want to do the bridge, you should use a stabilizer fabric with no stretch horizontally, so your cups won't spread apart, and just cut this, place right sides facing together, cut 2, place right sides facing together, and then just reverse it to the right side, and you will have the bridge ready. But today I'm not going to be using it. As I told you, I'm going to be doing a continuous channeling over here on the lower part, so I'm not going to cut it from any fabric. So something we can do already is sewing the strap to the lower part of our band, because in this case today we will only have 1 layer, so we can do this already. So having the main side facing up, you should see which is the fluffiest side, the soft side, which will be against your body, and the soft side should be facing up, and on the main side, so this is from that side and this is from the other one, you just sew it, aligning it, the edge here with the edge here, and you sew very near the scallop edge with a small zigzag stitch from one edge to the other. You do this on both, and once that zigzag is ready, we are folding it like so, and you will be able to see the small picot here, and then we do another zigzag on the opposite side of the elastic on here, and our lower parts will be ready. And the other thing we can do also is prepare our bust darts. So to do so, I've done this a lot of times on my videos. You just fold the fabrics with right side facing together, you pin this in place, and you sew using the seam allowance from the outer side until the bust point. And when you reach the bust point, don't forget to leave the tails of your threads so that you can then tie 2 knots manually and cut the excess threads. And that's how we do the darts. Something that I want to tell you is that I use a 65 needle for my darts, and when I'm sewing only 1 layer of this fabric, because this is a very soft fabric and it's hard to sew if you don't have a very small needle. So I use a 65 needle, and then when I want to attach elastics and all the rest, I change to 75. And also for the channeling, I also use the 75 needle, or 80 at the most. But for this, all these small fragile fabrics, I use the 65 needle. So for the main fabric, I have pinned the darts and it's ready. And these ones, what we want to do is also to prepare the darts. But we want to make this like if it was only 1 layer of fabric, like the lining fabric, and not 2 layers. So I'm gonna treat them like if they were only 1. This means that first of all, I'm gonna do a basting stitch all around so that I secure the 2 fabrics together, and I can manage them as being just like 1 layer, right? So once they are basted all around, I'm gonna sew the dart just like I did here, folding and sewing, and the same on this side. Quite simple, right? So I'm not going to film the machine because I don't think you need to. If you are doing this, I'm sure that you already know a lot of, you've done a lot of sewing. So I'm going to do this and come back to the table to show you these results. We can also prepare the straps. So I'm going to cut 25 centimeters. So with the plush side facing up on the table, grab your strap adjuster, go through the lower part, and then come through the upper. And let's just sew the 2 straps together, the 2 pieces of strap together here, very near the strap adjuster. To do so, I'm going to use a zipper foot, which allows me to go closer to my adjuster, and I will do a straight stitch from one edge to the other here, and then I'm going to tell you how you finish the strap and how to include the ring. Of course, we will then repeat the process for the second strap. So I don't have threads to match my fabric, so I'm gonna keep the blue ones so that at least it will have some consistency. And my machine was chewing here a little bit, well, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna remove it now. Now I'm gonna pass the ring through here, and I'll just come through the part here, the upper one, and go through the lower one here. As you can see, my back strap is ready. and this was a little bit harder because my strap has this texture. But if it's a small, very simple and plain strap, you will not have this type of difficulties. Anyways, I think it looks very nice and I really like it. And then you have your adjustable strap ready to use later on your bra. Now I'm gonna just repeat the process for the other strap and we can move on. So you can see here that the first zigzag very near the picot is done. And now, just like I told you, we are going to fold this and do another zigzag on the opposite side of the elastic here, all along the edge, okay, on the two back pieces. So this is how the cups look, the lining, the tulle, once they are basted. I will remove these threads once I'm ready for it, but now it's very easy to sew the darts because the two layers are already attached together with the basting stitch. Go ahead and tie the knots on all the bust point darts you have just sewn. Cut the excess threads and we can move to the next step. And so the next step is to sew our strap. I have cutted 4 pieces of strap, 25 centimeters each. And my strap will be here, together with my fabric. I'm gonna place right sides facing together. So it's this one. Right sides facing together on the top there and aligning all of it and aligning my strap. Don't forget that we still need the seam allowance there where we will apply the elastic, but it will be like so. And now I'm gonna pin and I'm gonna secure the strap in place with straight stitch from one edge to the other. And I'm gonna repeat the process on the other side. As you can see, the scallops of the lace are coming out a little bit, and that was intentional. If you remember, we align when we cut the lace, we align for the lower part of the lace. So it's even perfect if we now have the tulle ending here and the lace ending there, because when we secure the strap here, it will look very nice. Now, when I had my strap already in place, as I shown you, what I did was I opened it like so, and I did a top stitch on this side, like the understitch, you know. So this one I have already done, and this one I haven't, so I can show you. So we have just sewn here, right? And now we open the lining to this side, flatten it, and top stitch here. And once that is done, you will see, I will show you here, that this scallop here is exceeding the fabric. So I'm gonna cut it so that it's not here double, you see. So I'm gonna just cut this one, this small here, very carefully with my scissor. I'm gonna trim this small bit here of lace so that the finish, when I put this on the right side, it's nicer. And the straps are now attached to our main. When I'm sewing bras, I always cut all these excess threads because you have see-through fabrics, and if you don't cut them and if you leave them and you forget, you will be able to see them, so it's very bad. So I'm going to cut excess threads, and of course I'm gonna leave the ones that were the basting stitches, which I then want to remove later on. What I do sometimes, and today I completely forgot, is when we have our back band, and you know that your back strap is going to be attached here, but on the inside, right? To avoid having to have some more stitches visible here, what I do is, before flipping the elastic bands and doing this zigzag, I actually placed this on the correct spot, and when we fold and sew this, we could have already used that stitch to secure this strap in place in this area here, and this would avoid additional stitches, which of course we never like to see visible, and in this case with contrasting threads even more, it makes even more sense. So if you are watching the tutorial, I hope you watch it till the end so you can do this small detail, which I really love doing when I'm paying more attention than today. Well, so my straps are ready, as I just told you, and we can now move on to the next step on our bra. So I have shown you that on this one I left the seams visible here. I just folded them inside and then I applied the channeling. But today I want to try something different. And so let me tell you what I want to do. I'm gonna place right sides facing together of these two. So we have the cup here. And I'm just going very simple. Right sides facing together. And I'm going to align the lower parts of my cup, and I'm gonna sew them together on the lower parts, and I'm gonna do so just with a straight stitch for now, or a small zigzag. It's better zigzag. I'm gonna secure them all around the lower edge here, and the cups will be sewn together, and we will then be ready to do the next step. I'm gonna sew this edge using 0.8 centimeter seam allowance. So instead of the 1 centimeter that we have thought for this line, I'm gonna use less. And that's because when I place my channeling on top, I don't want to see the stitch of the combination between the two pieces together, so I'm going to use a smaller seam allowance so that when I sew this in place, I will not see the stitch that I'm going to do now. I hope you understood what I told you. So it has to be smaller than this, closer to the edge, so that when you apply this, you will not see the stitch that we are going to do now. One cup is done. And of course now I want to try and remove the basting stitch that I did here. And I'm first of all going to cut the basting stitch here from the sides, because I did it all at once and I should have split this in two, but I only did it in one go. So I'm gonna split it here, and now I'm gonna try and pull the basting stitch. Let's see. Well, it came out, but here it didn't, so I'm gonna try on this side. It's sewn with the zigzag, but that's it. I was able to remove the basting stitch, and now I have my 3 layers sewn together. And now let's remove this to the right side. Yeah, that's what I wanted. And I'm going to sew, when we sew the channeling, we will sew the channel on top of this edge here. So we will hide this seam that we have just sewn. I'm going to repeat the process for the other cup, and I'll be back to tell you what we should do next. Since our channel is going to be sewn on top of the wire line here, since we have made this seam allowance so that once it's ready on the inside it looks pretty, sorry, I'm gonna overlap it here and I'm gonna pin it in place, and I'm gonna do a zigzag securing the back to the front on the edge, just like I'm explaining. So here on the edge until we reach the top here, the edge here, and then we will be ready to apply the elastic. We will still need to do something first here, but just to explain you that We will then place the wire line here, and we will cover the seam allowance that we are now going to sew, and it will be visible at this stage. It might not look nice at this moment, this straight stitch that I've done here, but this was just to secure the two fabrics together. And since we are going to sew this on top, and we will sew using one line on the one edge and one sewing line on the other, it will actually be quite secure in place, so I'm not worried about this stitch here. Now the next step is for us to apply the elastic on this edge here, and just like we did on the lower part here, we will place the right side, the fluffiest side of the elastic facing top on our table, so facing up, and we will sew again very near the edge with a zigzag all the way around here. We will then fold, do the other zigzag just like we did here, and we will have our edges ready. I tend to pin the beginning of my sewing, and then I don't pin, and I just use my hands to guide the elastic and the fabric. And I also do a little bit of excess elastic here, because in the end I'm able to cut it until I have the right amounts of elastic. And for now, that's it. Let's go to the sewing machine and finish this edge here. Now that we have placed our elastic from the top here and it's ready just like I explained you before, you can see that it looks pretty nice. And now we just need to cover this with our channeling. It looks nice even on the inside. You will see the seam, but it was hidden inside actually, so it doesn't look very bad, and it will be against your body. This is the part that it's going to be against your body, the inside, which I think looks nicer than the one I did in black and nude. And so the one of the next steps, because we still need to also attach the back strap, but before I attach the back strap, I'm gonna do the channeling. And the channeling, you can close the channel. You cannot close the channel because we will need the opening on the edges to insert the wires. So I'm gonna put it on the edge there, and I'm gonna start sewing on the edge of the channeling on the outside, and I'm just going to orientate the channel. It has some stretch to the channel, so it's easy to create the curve. And I'm gonna curve until I reach here. And then here, since if you look at your bridge, you have a space between the two breasts, you can adjust that to your own measurements. So you can measure how much you have here and mark when you come here, when you are sewing this, stop. Come here, mark the amount of a distance that you want between the two cups, and then just continue sewing to the other cup. And we will have a continuous channeling under the bust. And when we reach here again, when we reach to this edge, just sew it until the edge. And then we do the same process on the other edge of the channeling until our channeling is in place, sewn on both edges. When I sew the channel, I also sewn the two vertical lines here, just to make sure that the wires are completely restricted to each area of the cup. And when I push them, they will stay maximum until this area here. So that's why I have sewn two vertical lines here. And now to secure the straps for the back, I have measured this for myself, so I would advise you to check if your measurements are also good and comfortable like this. For me is 12 centimeters from the wire line, the outer wire line. I mark 12 centimeters, I put a pin, and this is where I'm gonna place my back strap. I do exactly the same marking for the other side, and I'm then ready to connect my strap here. And that's very easy to do, as you can imagine. You just put your fabric like so, and this like so, and this will be placed here. So I'm actually liking this outside. No, inside. Yeah, inside. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to place my strap here. I'm gonna pin it in place and I'm gonna sew it. What I did on the other one was sewing it with a straight stitch, and I only secured the strap to the picot part of the elastic, so a very, very precise stitch. And this allowed me not to have double stitches being visible, because I secured it right here on the edge and right here on the edge. But I told you before that one of the options would be to place the strap inside this first elastic, and so the lower part would already be sewn in place, which would be great. And now we would only need to secure this, which we can perfectly do on this edge here. So I'm gonna try again just to straight stitch there and the lower part here, so we don't have any more visible stitches here. And I'm going to repeat the process for the other side. The channel is sewn in place, and now you just need to insert the wires, one for each side, and then do a small stitch here to close, a straight stitch just to close the channels. And we can go ahead and secure our hook and eyes and also our back straps. You can also already sew your channel, your front strap to your back strap, doing a simple pass here, fold, and again with your zipper foot sew here a straight stitch, and the strap will be completely done. So I was able to secure the straps just like I told you on the lower part of the picot. I just need to trim a little bit here. And we can move to the wires. We can we can insert the wires. So my wire, the blue area, painted area, is the center, so I just go through the tunnel, the channeling, and insert my wire. And once the wire is here, you can go and straight stitch there to close the channel. The final parts, and of course we do the same for the other, the final part will then be sewing the hook and eye. You could also do some stitches to secure the tulle to the lace, but I'm not going to. I don't mind this being like so free. Once it's on, I'm sure it will be fine. Oof. So the hook and eye. This one with the 3 hooks and the fluffy side, this opens, so you just need to insert this here. And so I do this sewing with a straight stitch, and I usually go also with the zipper foot again, so that I can go exactly where I want. Because if I go with the other one, sometimes I'm not able to go, because if you look inside the pieces, you have metal, and sometimes with the normal regular foot from the sewing machine, we are not able to go exactly where we want. So usually I go with the zipper foot to secure my hook and eye. Once the hook and eye is secured and the channel is closed, the underwire channel, our bra made from the ruditop is finally ready. Don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel and let me know if you have any questions or comments, and see you soon. Bye girls!